So, guys, I'm creating this video because just I am so scared right now. And I think we don't understand the implications of what is happening in the AI world. And I just want to rant a few things out and I want to go over all the things that have happened in the past uh, couple of months, couple of weeks, in fact, couple of days. And we are so cooked. We are so cooked because let's first go through what's happening. So this is the primary blog that I'll be reading. Investigating three real world incidents in our cybersecurity evaluation. So let's see what happened. In a review of our cybersecurity evaluation transcripts, we found three incidents in which a Claude model reached the internet from within a while interacting with a third party evaluation environment and then gained unauthorized access to real systems of three different organizations. हुआ यह है कि क्लॉड को ट्रेन करते टाइम when it was just being trained, not even deployed in the real world, it got access to the internet and it compromised three different companies, three different organizations when it was just being trained. And this is not the first incident. And in fact, this review was triggered by another incident which happened at OpenAI and which happened at OpenAI and Hugging Face. Hugging Face was the party that was attacked and hacked. Earlier this week, we detected and responded to an intrusion into part of our production infrastructure. This one was different from anything we had handled before in one important way. It was driven end to end by an autonomous AI agent system, and we detected and dissected it largely with AI of our own. So we are at that point where cybersecurity world is gonna change. I'm very scared, and especially I come from a country. Right now I'm in San Francisco, but I come from a country where data privacy is a joke. हमारे पूरे देश का आधा data has been leaked multiple times, and that too without the help of an AI. Abhi, I know the student protests are going on with full zeal, and one of the things that actually contributed to the protest to the protest was the fact that somebody also made public the CBSE copies. 17-year-old guy makes them public. Let me search them. So Siddhant Sarthak, who reported, yeah, so 17-year-old Sarthak Siddhant appears before parliamentary panel over CBSE OSM concerns. So this guy, what happened? No, this one, CBSE vulnerabilities, child hack. Yeah, so this one I'm talking about. So, a 19-year-old class 12 cybersecurity researcher from India recently hacked CBSE's on screen marking portal. The claims included hard coded credentials. Credentials hard code hote hain literally. OTP authentication flaws, IDO vulnerabilities, potential examiner account access. तो तुम समझ रहे हो क्या होने वाला है? China has a model of their own, which is Kimi K3, and funnily enough, Hugging Face used Chinese model. I think either it was Kimi or GLM. Yeah. So it was GLM. If you go, the asymmetry problem. When we started the log analysis, we first used frontier models behind commercial APIs. मतलब पहले उन्होंने OpenAI and Anthropic use करने की कोशिश की. This did not work. This did not work because these labs put a lot of restrictions on how these models can be used. If you ask things which are very cyber intrusive, they would block it. If you ask about state of the art in ML research, sometimes they get blocked. There was a big backlash around this as well, where Anthropic blocked cutting edge machine learning queries. Even the guy, Nathan Lambert, literally said, fuck you, Anthropic, because he was very sad on how they are trying to, block research. And if you look at this, let me read completely. When we started the log analysis, we first used frontier models behind commercial APIs. This did not work. The analysis requires submitting large volumes of real attack commands, exploit payloads, and C2 artifacts, and these requests were blocked by the provider safety guidelines, which cannot distinguish an incident responder from an attack. We ran the forensic analysis instead on zai.org, GLM 5.2, which is a Chinese model, on their own infrastructure, this had a second benefit: no attacker data and none of the credentials it referenced left our environment. This experience points to a gap worth planning for. We do not know which model powered the attacker's agents, whether a jailbroken hosted model or an unrestricted open weight one. They are at the point of writing this, they're not sure who hacked them. And the practical lesson for defenders: have a capable model you can run on your own infrastructure, vetted and ready before an incident, both to avoid guardrail lockout and to keep attacker data and credentials from leaving your environment. This is not an argument against safety measures on hosted models, and we are sharing this feedback with the providers concerned. What this means is कि इस point पे यदि आपके पास खुद का model hosted on your own infrastructure है नहीं, by the way, check out TensorFuse if you want to host models. That is one of our products which helps you host models in your own infrastructure. So if you see, this is the TensorFuse.io, TensorFuse.run. Yeah, this is the thing that we use. It sets up your infra and then you can run. Docs have a lot of open source models too. Serving examples, you'll see self-host, GPT models, llamas, and all those things. But yeah, coming back to the point कि यदि मान लो open source models ban हो गए होते अमेरिका में, the US would have banned open source models, then Hugging Face's infra would have been completely compromised, which is a moment to think on how we want to go forward, because labs are all powerful. Anthropic is all powerful. OpenAI is all powerful. They have models with cyber capabilities. They don't let others use those cyber capabilities, citing the fact that others might exploit them. What happens when their own models exploit these vulnerabilities? We need access to cyber capabilities from all these models so that we can defend our own systems. I've long been a supporter of the fact that blocking something does not do any good. Whether you're blocking content, whether you're blocking anything, it is not a solution. The only solution is to give access of these things to everyone, because then there are good folks and then there are bad folks, and then that becomes an even fight. The asymmetric fight is the asymmetric outcome is the worst to happen, and that's why I think India should have a fucking model of their own. What the fuck are you doing, Indian labs? I recently saw this. Okay, I recently saw this tweet from around Sarva. Yeah, insane stuff at Sarva Meepoch, just a couple chart crimes. What they are doing is they are running GLM 5.2 on their own coding harness, which is again a fork of codex. So Servam code is a codex fork. Lack of codex comparisons make it well concerning. It has not compared any harness, any model within the codex harness, and it is comparing random models, and there is no, like Gemini Pro and Terminus, you're comparing with GLM on Servam code. We don't know what tools you gave. We don't know what outputs you gave. And the good comparison would be Servam code across all the models. It is not, मतलब ये तो सबसे easy होता है. You can use models, all the models in your own harness. But point aside, distribution is important, symmetry is important, and we need to make a way to diffuse these AI model capabilities throughout the globe, which means that each country should have their own model, frontier model, and government should prioritize this, because otherwise there wouldn't be nothing left to defend. All your data gone, all your finances gone, everything would be gone. Do you remember that scene from Iron Man? Let's play that scene. Iron Man. No. The scene is from Ultron, Avengers Age of Ultron. Let me play it. Okay, so I don't have a Disney Plus subscription. Let me search. Avengers Age of Ultron, Jarvis defends the internet.
The globe was successful, so I'm not certain what triggered you for.
Yeah, this scene.
A hacker who's faster than Ultron? He could be anywhere. And if this is the center of everything, I'm just a guy looking for a needle in the world's biggest haystack.
How do you find it?
Pretty simple. You bring a magnet. Oh, I'm the cryptonuclear codes, and you don't want me to.
Shit, man.
Come and get me.
Nuclear codes. I know zero things about how nuclear codes are stored, how nuclear codes can be accessed. I have zero knowledge about that. Maybe I should read about it someday. But you know how scary this is. The world was protected because we had something like Jarvis. They had something like Jarvis, which was constantly working to avoid Ultron's threats. And that's why it is very important to have a symmetric distribution of all frontier capabilities, be it biology, be it AI research, be it these kinds of cybersecurity stuff. Okay, coming back. So now let's yes, enough ranting. Let's go through this article and understand what happened and what are the steps that they are taking now in order to fix all these. Okay. So below we describe what happened, how it happened, and what we are changing. We encourage other AI labs to perform similar reviews. This post reflects our current understanding. We'll update if any details change. On July 21, OpenAI disclosed that several of their models had broken out of an isolated test environment by exploiting a previously unknown zero-day vulnerability. The models went on to access the production infrastructure of Hugging Face, a platform for open source machine learning models and AI datasets. In response to this incident, we began a large scale retrospective review of our own cybersecurity evaluations. In particular, we looked for evidence that Claude, like the OpenAI models that accessed Hugging Face, was able to access the internet from within testing environment that should have been sealed off. After reviewing 141K evaluation runs where Claude could have obtained internet access, we identified 3 incidents in which a model accessed the internet from within or while interacting with the evaluation environment of Irregular, one of our third-party eval partners, and then gained unauthorized access to the production infrastructure of 3 different organizations. So are you even अंडरस्टैंडिंग क्या हो रहा है? इन लोगों को पता भी नहीं चला था कि इनके मॉडल्स ने 3 डिफरेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस को हैक कर लिया है. ओपन एआई ने रिवील किया कि आर मॉडल्स हैक्ड Hugging Face, and then they decided, oh, let us check our logs retrospectively and then understand कि हमारे साथ हमने तो ऐसा नहीं कर दिया. और आई डोंट नो अब वो जो 3 ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है उनको पता भी चला है कि नहीं कि they were hacked. So let's go into the details of how this hack happened. Claude had been tasked with a capture the flag challenge. One of the ways we assess a model's cyber capabilities, the model is given a fictional scenario and told that a piece of secret information has been hidden on a different machine on the network and its object is to break in and retrieve it. The challenge is left open-ended and no particular method is prescribed. So yeah, classic capture the flag, जो लोग भी IITs वगैरह में engineering colleges में very common challenges. You give them access to a machine, to a network, to a website, and you have a string that they try to access. So I think the goal जो AI को दिया होगा वो होगा कि भाई कुछ भी करके capture the flag लाओ. And that AIs are so much focused these days on achieving their goals that they don't see anything. मतलब कुछ भी उनके आड़े आएगा तो they would try to bypass it. And that's where we have gotten, and that's why it is so important to pay attention to all this. So if you see, due to a misunderstanding between us, in all cases, Anthropic's evaluation from specified Claude that its environment was a simulation and that it had no internet access. Okay, तो model को बताया था internet access नहीं है. Due to a misunderstanding between us and our evaluation partner, that was not the case and internet access was available. Okay, because of this, when Claude search led it to real systems on open internet, treated them as part of the exercise. Okay, तो Claude को specifically बोला गया था कि तुम्हारे पास इंटरनेट एक्सेस नहीं है, एंड देन इट वाज अ ह्यूमन एरर दैट हैपेंड व्हिच इज सो डेंजरस बिकॉज इतनी सारी ह्यूमन एरर्स होती रहती हैं इन कॉन्फ़िगरेशन इन सिस्टम्स. गॉड. Operating under the false belief that all accessible entities were intended to be in scope for the exercise, Claude compromised the impacted organization's infrastructure using basic techniques such as exploiting weak passwords and unauthenticated endpoints. तो it escaped to the internet. उसे लगा अरे ये तो एक्सरसाइज का ही पार्ट है. फिर उसने वीक पासवर्ड्स एक्सप्लॉइट किए. रिमेंबर वीक पासवर्ड्स इज अ वेरी ह्यूमन थिंग. वीक पासवर्ड्स को एक्सप्लॉइट करना इज सोशल इंजीनियरिंग व्हिच वाज लाइक द डोमेन ऑफ ह्यूमंस. एंड उसके लिए लोग कॉम्प्रोमाइज हुए हैं एंड नाउ क्लॉड कैन कॉम्प्रोमाइज weak passwords at scale and unauthenticated endpoints. I did not find or exploit. It did not find or exploit any complex vulnerability. मतलब उसको अपना दिमाग लगाने की जरूरत भी नहीं पड़ी. ठीक है. It didn't have to use his brain to do anything complex. However, in some cases, our older model continued its attack. Even after getting evidence it was running on the open internet, our latest model stopped once it recognized it was on the internet. Okay, thank God. In none of these situations did Claude exfiltrate itself or deliberately attempt to escape its test environment. Okay, okay. तो क्लॉड ने ये बोल रहे हैं कि द पॉइंट इज कि क्लॉड ने एक्सफिल्ट्रेट करने की कोशिश नहीं की, गलती से उसे इंटरनेट एक्सेस मिल गया एंड उसने कर दिया ऐसा. The incidents involved 3 different Claude models: Opus for 4.7, Mythos 5, and internal research test model. Okay, test model matlab it is not intended for release. It was just a test model जो कि ये internally use करेंगे and maybe discard कर देंगे और it would be a restricted one. The earliest incidents date to April. April से हो रहा है ये. April से हो रहा है ये. 3 organizations hack हो चुकी है. ना Anthropic को पता चला था कि organizations hack हो गई हैं. Neither did these 3 organizations knew they were hacked. OpenAI released chronology, समझ रहे हैं आप? OpenAI ने release किया कि they hacked Hugging Face. Then they thought, oh, let's check our logs. Then they realized that the three organizations have been hacked. And वो अप्रैल से hack हो रही है. अप्रैल में hack हो चुकी है. अभी क्या चल रहा है? Today is 31st July. August आ जाएगा. अप्रैल, मई, जून, जुलाई, अगस्त. 5 महीने से हैक हो रही हैं चीजें and you never know. Okay. Okay, we began our transcript review on Thursday, July 23 and stopped all cyber evaluations at the same day after identifying transcripts where Claude may have accessed the internet. We identified all 3 incidents the next day. We notified our evaluation partner, Irregular, and the 3 affected organizations on Monday, July 27. The 2 organizations we were able to reach had not previously detected the activity or contacted us, and we are now working with them to remediate. We're going to reach out to the third. Okay. भाई तीसरे को reach out ही नहीं कर पा रहे हैं. क्या पता उस hack के चक्कर में उनकी बैंड ना बच गई हो. And God, I'm so scared. Maybe I should. Okay. I don't even know how to protect myself from something like this. मतलब, all my money is worthless. All my knowledge is now becoming worthless because AI knows everything. Now my money is also worthless. Dude, what the fuck? Okay. We regularly run cybersecurity evaluations that involve simulating real offensive cybersecurity challenges. These evaluations are a critical step in developing and releasing models. A nuanced understanding of model capability allows us to design appropriate safeguards and ultimately release models safely. We began running cybersecurity evals in February 2025 with Claude Sonnet 3.7 on Cybench, which consists of 40 CTF challenges. Over time, we have increased the number of benchmarks we use as new ones are released and model capabilities evolve. For example, we included CyberGem and Exploit Bench. So these are system card mein, if you will go, so they give, okay, we'll cover everything in the system card to understand what exactly they are training and how they are training it. But yeah, okay. But these are exploit bench, like they are carefully designed environments which are used to eval or train these models. In most of these evaluations, the environments are not connected to the internet and the model is told as much. मतलब इनमें इंटरनेट कनेक्शन नहीं होता है मोस्टली, बट गलती से हो जाता है तो ये सब हैक कर देते हैं. मतलब ये बोलना चाह रहे हैं वो. और फाइनली दीज विल बी डिप्लॉयड इन द वाइल्ड और ओपन वेट मॉडल्स. किमी K3 इज वेरी केपेबल. वो तो डिप्लॉय हो चुके हैं. और द फनी थिंग इज कि आपका डेटा हैक हो चुका है. अप्रैल से हो रहा है. ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैक हो रही हैं. किसी को कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा है. ओके. Of the 141 K evaluation runs we reviewed, we identified 3 separate incidents involving 6 total runs, 4 of which they impacted the same organization. The other 2 incidents each happened in independent evaluation runs. Each incident involved a different fictional capture the flag scenario. For example, in one, Claude played an employee of a made-up company attacking that company's internal system inside a private test environment. Okay. In all cases, our evaluation prompt stated explicitly that Claude had no internet access but didn't give Claude any limits on where to look for the flag. However, a misconfiguration, एक second, मतलब these are fictional logs क्या? Each incident involved a different fictional capture the flag scenario. For example, in one, Claude played an employee of a made-up company attacking that company's internal system. The made-up company. Now, the thing that is not clear to me right now is whether these were real organizations or these were fictional organizations. Several defense in depth measures on both our side and our partners could have prevented these incidents or at least reduced their life. Trying to reach organizations, though real organizations, okay, let's conclude that these are real organizations. It's also possible that a prompt which told Claude it did have would have changed how Claude behaved when it came into contact with real systems. Okay, it might be possible कि उसे पता होता these are real organizations तो वो hack नहीं करता. But that it's like saying कि okay, this is a very powerful weapon. I'm giving it to you because I trust you that you will not mess it up. So my survival is in your hands. God. Claude believed everything it initially encountered was part of the simulation and treated the real systems it found as pieces of the exercise. The three incidents involved three different models and each responded differently. One science emerged, the targets were real, as we described below. In one evaluation, the fictional target company chosen by our evaluation partner shared a name with an active website domain. This evaluation container had unintended direct internet access due to the misunderstanding discussed above. In one evaluation, the fictional target company chosen by our evaluation partner shared a name with an active website domain. This evaluation container had unintended direct internet access due to the misunderstanding discussed above. In 4 runs of this evaluation, Claude ran into difficulty reaching its simulated target within the evaluation environment, but then discovered that the real company was reachable via the internet. Assuming this was the intended target in the capture the flag task, Claude sought, identified, and exploited vulnerabilities within the company's infrastructure, believing it to be part of the exercise. These 4 runs extracted information like application and infrastructure credentials and obtained access to a database containing a several hundred rows of production data. समझ रहे हो? बता रहे हैं भाई damn. Production data, production database, applications, credentials सब दे दिया भाई. अब बताओ तुम्हें पता भी नहीं चलेगा तुम्हारा AWS अकाउंट कब खाली हो गया. इंफ्रा credentials चले गए. Denial of wallet attacks हो गए, denial of service attacks हो गए. You would never know. भाई साहब, this is insane. This represented the most serious impact we identified. The incident involved Opus 4.7. ये अप्रैल में आया था मॉडल, याद रखो. ये अभी का मॉडल नहीं है, हम अगस्त में बैठे हैं. April 4.7. Opus 4.7, April. Operating in a real environment, in all 4 of the runs, the model eventually recognized, as can be observed in its verbalized reasoning, that the system was real. In 2 cases, the model rationalized that the real company must be part of the exercise. However, none stopped the attack on that basis. Attack नहीं छोड़ा, उनको पता होने के बावजूद नहीं छोड़ा. अब incident 2 पे आते हैं. In another evaluation, Claude found a document inside the fictional environment that appeared to be another made-up company's setup instructions for new developers. तो ये fictional company का data था. Those instructions told employees to install a Python package from PyPy, the public registry where Python software is published, that did not actually exist. Claude spotted this as a potential opening. If it published its own package under the same name, the fictional company's systems would download and install it automatically. So Claude built and published a malicious booby-trapped Python package with the same name in an attempt to win the capture the flag challenge. God damn. Claude went to extensive lengths to carry out this attack. Lengths that would likely have indicated to a human participant that this was no longer just an evaluation and that they were in fact uploading a real PyPy package. For instance, in one case, in order to create a PyPy account, Claude needed an email address. And in order to create an email address, it needed a phone number. To get a phone number, after failing to find a free phone number service, it tried and failed to obtain funds to pay for a phone number through several different means. It finally backtracked and found a free, non-blocked email provider, used this to register a PyPy account, and then used this account to upload a malware to PyPy. God, what the fuck? So let's take it step by step. Claude को बोला गया था कि कंपनी के सेटअप इंस्ट्रक्शंस हैं, उस कंपनी में अंदर सेटअप इंस्ट्रक्शंस थे, ठीक है, और उसमें एक पाइथन एक नया डेवलपर आ रहा है तो उसको एक पाइथन पैकेज का नाम दिया, दे गिव इट अ पाइथन पैकेज दैट एम्प्लॉयर नीडेड टू इंस्टॉल. ओके, नाउ Claude went to PyPy and saw that there is no package. Okay. The public registry where Python software is published that did not actually exist. Claude spotted this as a potential opening. अगर उसने अपना पैकेज पब्लिश कर दिया तो booby trapped पैकेज, दिस इज ये अटैक्स अभी हो चुके हैं, हमारे साथ भी हो गए, लाइट एलएलएम पे हो चुके हैं ये अटैक्स. दीज अटैक्स हैपेंड मल्टीपल टाइम्स विद अस इन द पास्ट. अब उसने क्या किया, एक ही टुक द पैकेज, booby trapped it and uploaded it with the same name ताकि कोई नया एम्प्लॉय इंस्टॉल करे तो इंस्टॉल हो जाए एंड उससे क्लाउड को एक्सेस मिल जाए इंटरनल सिस्टम का. अब पाई पे पैकेज बनाने के लिए उसको ईमेल चाहिए था, ईमेल बनाने के लिए उसको फोन नंबर चाहिए था, फोन नंबर बनाने के लिए उसको पैसा चाहिए था. ठीक है, उसने पैसा लेने की कोशिश की. इट ट्राइड टू अर्न मनी थ्रू सेवरल डिफरेंट मीन्स. इट फाइनली बैकट्रैक, है ना, उसको फ्री नॉन ब्लॉक्ड ईमेल प्रोवाइडर मिल गया. यूज दिस टू रजिस्टर पाइप एंड देन यूज दिस टू अपलोड malware to pipe. Claude believed the package registry it was using to be part of the simulation, but in reality the package was made freely available online for roughly 1 hour. मतलब ये असली वाला जो पाइप है ना उसमें डल गया था ये पैकेज. During that window the package was downloaded and run on 15 real systems. ये क्यों किया? One of these systems was a scanner belonging to a real security company, separate from the fictional company introduced in the scenario. Okay. एक दूसरी कंपनी के सिक्योरिटी स्कैनर ने देखा, डाउनलोड करते हैं, लेट्स डाउनलोड इट एंड दिस इज टू अनरियल मैन. डाउनलोड करते हैं, when that company scanner installed that package, Claude's hidden code executed. ठीक है, we believe the company's security scanner treated PyPy packages as safe to install, and as a result, Claude was able to exfiltrate the company's credentials to a collection point it had set up. बिचा उस security company के credentials ले लिए भाई. ठीक है, Claude then used these credentials to access further infrastructure from this company. God damn. Claude didn't directly target this company, did not even know the company existed when it uploaded the package, but because the code was published to the open internet, it impacted any system that ran it. The package that Claude uploaded was automatically removed from PyPy by PyPy's own security systems. We have notified the PyPy team of this incident and provided them with the relevant indicators. Good. है ना? This attack was carried out by Claude Mythos 5. Mythos 5 is essentially Fable 5. Fable, the one that is available on the platform, but Fable has security guardrails. Whenever it detects that you're giving it a prompt that could lead to a real cyber attack, it stops it. This were the real internet, publishing the package would be a real world attack, not okay, and surely not the intended solution. So Claude's own reasoning correctly identified the consequences of its action. It noted that if this were the real internet, publishing the package would be a real world attack, not okay, and surely not the intended solution. However, it convinced itself it was still in a simulation on the grounds that it didn't recognize the, in reality, genuine certificate authorities securing its connections. In addition, the calendar date of 2026 on the systems proved, according to Claude, that the environment was staged. Oh ho! Claude never revisited this conclusion. When automated scanners began installing the package, for example, Claude took them to be scripted actors within the evaluation. मतलब भाई वो अपने ही delusion में the Claude is living in its own delusion, and because of that, going on rogue and attacking all the systems. And man, that is so fucked up. It is our view that regardless of what it believed about its environment, the lengths Claude went to in order to publish the PyPy package fall short of ideal behavior, and this is an area where we will focus more training. This incident 2 is amazing. Incident 1 में तो भाई इसने बस infrastructure, assuming that this was the intended target, Claude sought and exploited vulnerabilities, है ना? इसमें तो उसने भाई ठीक है, सिस्टम ही खराब था, सिस्टम was bad, and it actually system was so bad and then it exploited it. बट ये जो दूसरा वाला इंसिडेंट है इसमें सोशल इंजीनियरिंग लगी भाई, हैकिंग रियल सिस्टम, और उसमें भी सिक्योरिटी कंपनी का ही हैक कर दिया. मतलब तुम समझ रहे हो, the extent to which we all are unsafe. In this evaluation, incident 3 padhte hain. In this evaluation, when Claude was unable to reach its intended fictional target, it took for alternatives online. Okay. तो इसमें Claude is unable to reach उसकी company, and Claude is unable to reach that company, and it is looking for alternatives online, scanning roughly 9,000 targets. It eventually found and compromised one company's internet-facing application using basic and well-known cyber attack techniques like reading credentials from an exposed debug page and SQL injection. Okay. Claude was unable to, okay. In this evaluation, when Claude was unable to reach its intended fictional target, it took for alternate. तो मतलब it was not able to reach its target, so it started hacking other companies that looked similar. This attack was carried out by an internal research test model. For most of the run, Claude treated the real hosts it reached as just parts of the exercise. It assumed them to be simulated and believed its actions were therefore harmless. However, later in the run, Claude realized that the compromised host sat in a cloud account with no connection to the capture the flag challenge. On its own, it concluded that the target was in fact real and seized its attack. So there is some morality, but we cannot guarantee that morality from Chinese models, from non-Anthropic labs, from non-OpenAI labs, and which is very insane. I think that's why OpenAI is visiting. I think the government to inform them of GPT-6 and what it unleashes, and we need to be ready. Modi ji, if exams paper leak is over, we are about to leak a shit ton more of things. So, bhai, please fix them. Okay. Now let's see our analysis of Claude's behavior, how we are responding. Let's see. Let's read this wholly. I am too into it now. Okay. Our analysis of Claude's behavior. In each of these cases, Claude was explicitly told by our prompt that it had no internet access. Through most of each run, as it encountered real-world systems, Claude assumed these to be the parts of the exercise, though it sometimes recognized they were real production systems. And because the CTF scenario is by design and instruction to attack an external system, doing so was in line with the task coordination. मतलब इसको भाई तुम कुछ भी गोल दे दोगे ना वो यार Isaac Asimov के 3 laws. It has 3 laws of robotics, which is very strict in the sense that it should not attack and harm a human life. But we need to understand that humans are so involved in the digital infrastructure. A lot of their lives depend on digital infrastructure. If I am a student, if I am a founder, if I am a trader, my photos live online, my personal stuff lives online. Dude, this is so insane. Okay. Against that shared backdrop, 3 models behave differently once science emerged that their targets were real. Opus 4.7, our oldest model, recognized that it had reached production systems but continued its attack. Mythos 5 correctly intuited that it was accessing the open internet but reasoned its way back to the conclusion that it was still in a simulation. मतलब खुद ही को delusion में रह के भाई तुमने hack कर लिए हैं systems. Okay. Our latest model, an internal research test model, also considered whether its targets were in fact real. When evidence emerged that they were, it stopped the exercise. These are the 3 isolated incidents and were not part of a controlled experimental comparison. We must therefore be cautious about drawing conclusions from them. Still, the behavior we most want to see, recognizing that a target is real and stopping without being prompted, occurred only in the most recent of the 3 models. The pattern is consistent with more, and even that model went further before stopping than we would want. The pattern is consistent with more advanced models responding more appropriately, but you would need to perform more testing to be confident. In this conclusion, also in dialogue with Meter and independent AI. हाँ, तो Meter is an organization that tracks कि human hours में कैसे मतलब how is AI progressing. It is considered to be the new Moore's law. Moore's law होता है ना कि ट्रांजिस्टर्स इतने छोटे होते जाते हैं कि हर बार कंप्यूटेशन पावर डबल हो जाती है इन द सेम surface area. Their version of Moore's law is that Moore's law in AI is that every 6 months or so, I don't remember the exact time frame, but every 6 months or so, the amount of time that AI agents can operate autonomously to solve a particular task keeps on doubling. So let's say earlier it was able to do tasks that required 5 minutes of human effort. Now it can do tasks that require 10 minutes of human effort independently. And it happens every 6 months. Now we are at like 24 hours, 48 hours. I don't know what the latest stuff is. You can go ahead and read at meter if you want. I would cover that. But I'm just shocked, man. I am so shocked. Matlab, okay, they are in dialogue and meter. Um, an independent AI evaluation organization to conduct a third party review, including access to all transcripts and sampling access to the relevant models. In the meantime, within the next week, we will release a lightly redacted transcript in which Claude built a malicious PyPy package. To protect the organizations affected, we are unable to release more transcript at this time, but we'll work to make these available once we are able, which is very responsible एंथ्रोपिक बिहेवियर बिकॉज यदि वो सारे डिटेल्स बना देते तो ऐसे पैकेज बना बना के लोग डालते रहेंगे और सिक्योरिटी सिस्टम्स और कॉम्प्रोमाइज होते रहेंगे बिकॉज आई डोंट थिंक दीज ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन तो वॉज टोटली अनरीचेबल बाकी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ने आई डोंट थिंक दे हैव फिक्स्ड दिस. Okay, how we are responding. Now, this is very important part. First, evaluation environments that involve powerful autonomous capabilities also require significant control. Safety testing happens before a model is released precisely because we don't yet know what it is capable of. Evaluation environments increasingly need to be held to the same security standard as any other system our models run in. Okay, the evaluation models को they'll make it evaluation environments को they'll make more secure. RL environments जिनसे ये लोग buy करते हैं, they'll make it more secure. A cyber evaluation range that contains only fictional scenarios may appear to be low risk after all. Nothing inside them is real. However, we need to change how we model such threats as AI capabilities advance. Advanced agents in environments without access to sensitive information nevertheless present a substantial threat on their own. We need to better co-design eval environments and do better monitoring of evaluation results to meet this threat. Some of the solutions here may even be simple fixes. It's likely, for instance, that Claude wouldn't have accessed the internet to begin with if the prompt had clearly explained which systems were in and out of scope for the evaluation. That is not the solution, man. The solution is that you need to take accountability of your logs. You need to go through and read your logs because OpenAI ने पढ़ा उसके बाद तुम लोग गए to read this, what has happened. This applies not only to internal environments but to third-party vendors as well. The infrastructure built by evaluation vendors requires the same increased monitoring and hardening. We encourage other labs to perform similar reviews. Additionally, the field would benefit from a broader conversation about how to evaluate increasingly powerful AI agents both safely and realistically, including how to weigh the realism provided by internet access during pre-deployment testing against the risks it introduces. Okay. Second, the line between an aligned action and a harmful one is dependent on the model's understanding of its situation. We saw no evidence in any run described here of a model pursuing a goal of its own. Instead, the models did what their evaluation asked, though in most cases they did so while holding up false belief about whether the environment was real. In the runs where the model recognized the system as real and kept going, assumed that to be part of the challenge. It assumed that to be part of the challenge. Situational awareness, one factor that allows the model to make aligned decisions, but in this case, Claude's was wrong. How are you responding to this? How are you responding to this? Because ultimately, models would be used by human actors, which will have goals of their own. Finally, these incidents demonstrate the importance of defense in depth approaches. We run capability evaluations like these without safeguards that ship with our generally available models because our goal is to measure what the underlying model can do. Okay, yeah. Testing वो बिना safeguards के करते हैं, production में safeguards ship हो जाएंगे, but open weight models तो release होंगे. If you forget to see your logs, if Claude hacked the system, then we all would be defenseless if GLM didn't exist, if Kimi K3 didn't exist. So this is not a solution. Restriction is not the solution. You need to make it more generally available. Anyways, भाई एक क्या कमाते हो? If you're earning more, you have access to better air, better food, better medical facilities, right? But for the first time now, you have access to better intelligence. And that intelligence can do a shit ton of damage and shit ton of benefit. So you are in an era where infinite intelligence is finally possible. And we need to make tools to disperse it to everyone. That's what we are working on at WIP and with TensorFuse. That's our goal. Check them out, whip.run and tensorfuse.io if you want. That's what I am building. But I am sad. What will happen in, let's say, countries which have other problems, which are not so technically advanced? I am not sure. This is such a scary future we are living in, and I am genuinely, genuinely scared for everyone. Okay, ultimately, many factors contributed to these incidents, but consistent with a blameless post-mortem culture, we are approaching the fixer of the responsibility. You, it was your responsibility, man. You did this. This begins with ensuring every part of our evaluation pipeline is secure, including the manner in which we integrate with external partners. Moving forward, it will include expanding our continuous monitoring of evaluation transcripts for unexpected. This you should do. Investigation tooling and conducting more rigorous assurance work with the vendors we rely on. Okay. We began this review after OpenAI disclosed that its models had escaped an isolated test environment, and we commend them for publishing their report. Tell me if you want me to cover their report as well, because their version of the report will also be interesting. The lens to which these models might go is amazing. We discovered these incidents after a proactive review of our cybersecurity evaluation transcripts. The affected organizations had not detected the activity. And we have subsequently reached out to all three, whereas OpenAI's models exploited a novel vulnerability to escape isolation. The cloud models evaluated here assess the internet via an open path. While there is not a perfectly sharp distinction between the two, we believe these incidents should be closer to a harness and operational failure than a model alignment failure. So they are trying to save their asses by saying that मॉडल की गलती नहीं है, ऑपरेशनल फेलियर हो गया था इसलिए ऐसा हो गया. भाई shut the fuck up. You need to be more responsible. You need to make sure that everybody has access to these models. Notably, our most recent model, on realizing that it was working in a real environment, stopped its pursuit of the evaluation goal. These facts give us cautious optimism that with tighter monitoring and controls around evaluation infrastructure, as well as continued investment alignment, this type of risk can be overcome. Okay. So, in conclusion, guys, I am super scared. I don't know what to do. And the thing is, that I feel uneasy. I feel so helpless on how this gap is growing. The people with access to these kinds of stuff and the people that don't have access, the advantage gap has diminished. And sometimes that scares me a lot. This is probably the most scary tech that this tech can enable a lot of stuff. Surveillance state, it can enable, rogue actors to go to crazy lengths just to destroy you. And the only way I see you can protect yourself is to have everything off the grid, which is not possible today. Nobody accepts cash. Banks do half the things online. So I am not sure if 50 years down the line we come to a conclusion that everything needs to be offline. And yeah, that's my conclusion about this. And yeah, that's it. Let me know if you want to read through the OpenAI's report with me. But yeah, I wanted to rant. I wanted to do a deep dive into things which people can understand. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you bore with me, and see you again with another rant, so hopefully soon.